I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine the following scenario. You're walking down the street and you see someone you know on the other side. You smile and wave at them, and they just continue walking without responding at all. How do you feel? Well, the way you feel in this situation is going to depend a lot on your thoughts. If you think, "What's the matter? Why is she ignoring me? Have I done something to upset her?" then you might start feeling anxious or worried. And if you think, "Why didn't he respond? Doesn't he like me?" then you might start feeling sad. Or if you start thinking, "What's her problem? That's so rude. What's wrong with her?" then you'll start feeling angry. Or if you just think, "Oh, I guess he didn't notice me," then you might feel a little disappointed, but you probably won't have a very strong emotional response. The point is, the situation itself doesn't dictate how you feel. The way that you feel depends on the thoughts that you have in response to the situation. This relationship is often described as the ABC model. So first, at A, we have a situation, sometimes referred to as an activating event. And then eventually at C, we end up with a feeling or a consequence. But we're often not aware of the thought or belief at B that links A and C together. And this thought is often referred to as an automatic thought because it arises almost instantly and automatically. And it's this automatic thought that determines the emotion that we feel and how strongly we feel it. So looking at our example again, we start at A with an activating event or situation, and this leads to B, some beliefs or automatic thoughts about the situation. And these beliefs or automatic thoughts lead to a consequence at C, which is a feeling or emotion that we experience in response to the situation at A as a result of the automatic thought that we have at B. And the automatic thought that we have at any given time can depend on our mood and the way that we're feeling. So if you're already feeling anxious, you're much more likely to have an anxious automatic thought. And if you're sad, to have a sad automatic thought. Because our thoughts and our moods are usually congruent like this. Because there is such a close relationship between our thoughts and our feelings, it can be beneficial to become aware of the thoughts that we're having and to notice how they're affecting our mood. But just as our thoughts become so easy to get caught up in vicious cycles, also where we have some sort of anxious thought that makes us feel more anxious, and then because we're feeling anxious, we have more anxious thoughts, and then these anxious thoughts in turn make us feel even more anxious. Where the same sort of pattern can happen with sadness, leading us into a downward spiral that leaves us feeling depressed. And once these cycles get started, they're very difficult to slow down or reverse. But if we're able to notice our thoughts better and how they're affecting our mood, we can often disrupt these cycles before they get started or have the chance to gather a lot of momentum. And we can expand this model of the relationship between our thoughts and feelings to also take into account body sensations and behavior, as all four of these elements act together and influence each other. We start with a situation, which can be either something external, something that you're doing or something that's being done to you, or it can be something internal, a thought, feeling, or body sensation that you're experiencing. And then this situation generates thoughts, feelings, body sensations, and actions in response. And then these thoughts, feelings, and emotions, body sensations, and actions generate more thoughts, feelings, and emotions, body sensations, and actions in relation to each other. Let's look at an example. Suppose you're out with a group of people that you don't know that well, and you're a little shy, and feeling a bit uncomfortable, and you have the thought, "I wish I had something interesting to talk about." And then when you have this thought, you start feeling a little bit anxious. And then you do try to say something, but because you're feeling anxious, you stumble over your words a bit. And then you feel embarrassed, and you notice a feeling of tightness in your chest. And then you think, "What's wrong with me? I don't even know how to talk to people." And now you feel sad, and you have this feeling of despair in the pit of your stomach. And then you think, there's no point in even trying anymore. And then you excuse yourself and go home. And then you get home and are by yourself, and you start feeling depressed. So you can see how, in this situation, your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, body sensations, and actions are all interacting with each other and influencing one another, and they initiate a downward spiral that's making the situation more and more difficult to deal with, and by the end leaves you feeling depressed. And now for a situation in which a body sensation is the initial trigger, let's look at how panic attacks sometimes start. They often begin when you notice an uncomfortable body sensation in your chest, and you think, "Am I having a heart attack?" And then this thought generates anxiety. And this anxiety leads your heart to start beating faster. And then maybe you start gasping for breath. And then, because you're having trouble breathing, you think, "I really am having a heart attack." And you start to panic. And then you start to hyperventilate. And your heart starts beating even faster. And this generates even more panic. And then you think, "What if I die?" And before you know it, all of these things have interacted together to bring on a full-blown panic attack.